But I mean,
this is perfection.
I'm just saying.
Aim for this.
This is what
This
you
is
should
the bar. So like,
there's nothing higher than this. If you cannot get here, you cannot go anywhere. And I was so sure, like so 100% sure that I was gonna live my best, most authentic life moving forward. One day I just knew that this is it. And I also gave myself grace to understand that the days that I miss it and the days that I miss the mark, I need to give myself grace and say, hey, look, it's okay.
So like, to me, if you see something happening over and over and you're like, why does this keep happening to me?
Yeah.
Common denominator is you. Hello.
Well, some people see that. You know that, right? Some
Exactly.
people don't see at all.
It's like, it could be you. It could be someone by your side. But
all right, let me turn on the recorder. So over here, that is so far from you. Let me bring it closer so that now we can actually hear you.
As I relax.
Hi, Joyce!
Hi!
It's so nice to have you.
Thanks for having me. Let me actually sit and relax and behave myself.
Relax, enjoy. The pillow is for you to hold your shoulder and make sure that you're... Okay, wow, now I'm not seeing you. Because the camera can no longer see you.
Dear.
Oh my god, it's so good to have you.
Are we recording?
Yes, we are recording already.
Hello. Hi. Greeting.
I love that your personality is just like so like you're so extroverted, and it's just so beautiful to watch because it's very rare to meet, for me anyways, it's very rare for me to meet someone who's like more extra than I am. I'm
not. That is a lie. False, fake news. Rewind, pause, backtrack. No. I'm not more extra than you are. There's levels. I'm level 2.
And I am level
8 or 9.5.
Oh my god, people talk about how gentle I am and how like I'm just that person who's just like so calm, like just so centered, just like my life is just like, I don't know, like I'm just so quiet, like so... Oh my god, I'm dead. I feel like this conversation is going to get real funny. It's like, you know those YouTube videos that they show that the person's like, you guys have been asking, like, what guys? Please mention them. Who are they?
Since you asked, who asked? Nobody. Jubilee. I'm quiet, I'm shy, introvert. Said nobody ever.
Okay, I'm just gonna dive in, right? Do you think every human being that walks this planet, like walks on the planet, has abandonment issues, some type of or some level of abandonment issues?
I would say, first of all, thank you for having me on the first of all, backtrack, rewind. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be here and to be part of this pioneering reactivation of this phase of your life. So
thank you.
It's gonna be great. In terms of your question, I think that most people do, because but I think that's just like life though. Like I think as we go through life, we meet people, we lose people, like ups and downs of life. And then those who don't perhaps cope with it in the best ways end up with like abandonment issues, so to speak. But it's just like a part of life, and then hopefully people adapt and adjust and it doesn't develop. Like to me, the issue part of it is like when you don't deal with it well and then it comes to hurt you or damage future relationships with others in like as you proceed.
Yeah.
But people coming and going out of your life with or without closure is just a part of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you recognize it though? Like how do you recognize that you're struggling with abandonment issues? Do you know what I mean? Like how do you know that this is what I'm struggling with in terms of, because you're saying, the reason why I ask is because you're saying that if you don't handle it early on in life, then it becomes an issue when you become an adult. Well, how do you recognize that it's even there?
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of self-awareness. In my opinion, it's when it becomes a pattern. So like to me, if you see something happening over and over and you're like, why does this keep happening to me?
Yeah.
Common denominator is you. Hello.
Well, some people don't see that. You know that, right? Some
exactly.
It's at all.
It's like, it could be you. It could be someone by your side. but like actually, it's probably you.
Yeah.
So I think that's when you take a step back and you look at what's going on. For example, personally, like if it's with relationships and you're thinking, why do I always go for emotionally unavailable people, or every time I love, they don't love back, or something like that, and it's a pattern, then I've learned that perhaps you're emotionally unavailable. Or with friendships, if you think, why do I always give, and other people just take from me, and then you notice it's a pattern, then you have to step back and say, okay, what are the boundaries? And it normally comes up in being like a boundary issue. But I think that it's not something that you can learn like out the gate when you're younger, maybe when you're 18, 19. Maybe people do, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that you learn like after many experiences, and then you're just sick and tired of it. Or maybe if you're in therapy at a young age and they can point it out to you earlier on. But for me personally, it's been in my late 20s, which I feel like is late, but that's my experience.
Oh, wow. Something that you pointed out that just stood out to me was like patterns. Like, it's so crazy because as human beings, right, the patterns are there. We know that, well, we don't know they're there. Someone has to show us. Someone has to bring it to our attention, like, hey, this is your pattern. But the thing about it also is that I think with that is that you have to be able to receive the information that's coming to you in order for you to be able to work through it, right? Because then you're like that person who just keeps on doing the same thing, and then you're worried like, oh my God, why do I keep doing the same thing? Why is my life falling apart? My life is never together. And then you're never able to like just introspect and be like, hey, I am the problem. Maybe I need to fix this or that. So
yeah, and just really quickly on that point, because I think that's very important. That's something that came up recently for me, because an ex I had last year pointed out a lot of patterns that I'm noticing this year. By the time when he pointed them out, my mindset was like, you're trash, so throw you and all your feedback in the trash. So I'm not taking anything you're saying, throw out the baby in the bathwater. But now that I'm doing the work and learning about my patterns and in therapy, I'm looking at things, I'm like, oh wow, this is stuff that he was complaining about. But because I didn't look at him as someone qualified to give me feedback, I threw everything away. And I think a lot of times we do that, whether it's because of our ego or because we're just not even in the headspace. But yeah, it's very important to like humble ourselves, be self-aware, and then take what's relevant, because not everything will be relevant. Sometimes people say things to hurt you and they don't have your best interest in mind or growth in mind. But if you can just look at it and say, okay, let me take out what's for me, because this is something that I've seen before, or I've heard this before, so like let me pause and see, even though this particular person might not have my best interest in mind, I've heard it multiple times.
Yeah. Oh my God, everything you're saying, right? So many things are just like, you know, things just start bubbling up in your head. One, ego. Oh my God. I feel like ego is like the killer of everything. Like the moment your ego steps into the room, you no longer can hear anything that anyone has to say.
Yeah.
And what that does, that it forces you back into that same pattern, that same routine. Okay. So the question again is, was that, I feel like I have too many questions. Okay.
Yeah. And are you going to answer any of the questions?
Yes, you can ask me if you want to.
No, because I want to know your own take on things from that.
No, feel free to ask me when you feel like it. But,
all right.
Was that with the ex, right? Was that the trigger for you to start working on yourself, or was there something else that triggered that in terms of like you now going to work on yourself and figuring out what your patterns? Well, he already brought them to light for you, but what was that trigger? What got you there to do the work?
Yeah, it was a combination of things. I think that was like a starting point, because after him, I did go to therapy. I started going to therapy, but for other reasons than what he had said. And then maybe a couple months later, finding a different therapist to work on other issues that I thought were isolated from him. I thought it was completely different. I thought it had nothing to do with him. And then seeing the same patterns with a different person present themselves. And I'm like, okay, I've seen these patterns literally since like 2014. And I was talking to my friend from high school, and she's like, oh my God, like if you go further back, even in high school when you did ABC. And I was like, oh my God, even in high school? So then I started to see, and that's why it's really important also to have good friends around you who can like call you out. They have your best interests at heart. They even remember details about your life.
Yes.
They can say like, hey, you're saying, oh, I've never felt this way about anyone, or this has never happened to me. And they're like, what about this person, but Bob, Phil, Eric, like Thomas.
You always never felt this way.
Hey now, like, that's what you said, and here we are today. So like,
which one is it?
Quick maths, it's not adding. So yeah, so my friend told me that, and I thought like, oh, that's actually a good point. And then Reddit has been a huge part of my whole journey. But going on Reddit, reading other people's stories, and thinking like, oh yeah, that's happened or that's happened. I see similarities, and then thinking, okay, this is not normal, and also it's not the direction I want my life to go in. Because like if you see certain things and you're okay with it, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But if it's not going your way, then that's when you're like, okay, I need to change something, right? Like if someone has abandonment issues, and they're like, that's how I am, I'm cool, then that's fine. Then when you're going through a hard time and you're by yourself and you're lonely and no one wants to be your friend, like, then rock with it. But if you want to build community and you have abandonment issues and you're struggling and there's conflicting ideologies, then you have to like step back to like reconcile what the gap is.
It's so interesting because it's like you're right in the sense of like it can come from like high school, elementary, it can come from like places that you do not even suspect, or like you're like, what the hell? What are you talking about? And then, because for me growing up, I don't know if I want to call it abandonment issues, because for me, I just had so much attention growing up. When there was never a moment that I didn't have someone around or so much love. My mom, I used to call her the overwhelming love. It was just too much in that sense. But I always, I always felt misunderstood. That was my biggest thing. And because I felt misunderstood, I always felt alone. Because I had all of these questions that I wanted to ask. And when you're in a society that's like just literally just highly motivated by religion and culture, and then you're a woman also in a culture that says you cannot speak, the only thing you should do is go to school, graduate, get married, get pregnant, give birth, take care of a baby, and die.
Yeah.
Like life is already set for you. It's like when you ask those questions and you don't get answers, but not just that, when you don't find women who are maybe they were women at that time, but women who did not speak up at that time in terms of being a strong woman. Because we see it now, there's so many examples of strong women out here who are outspoken, no matter what it is, they always take their place in the world, they take their place on the table, they have the difficult conversations. And so for me growing up, it was always that thing that was always missing, and I was constantly looking for it, like constantly searching for it, to the point that it forced me to want to leave home. Literally every time my mom would say something to me, I would pack my bags and I'd be, I'm leaving this house, I don't want to live with you. And mom was like, okay, bye.
What kind of things would she say that would like
oh no, she'd be like, Ghibli, no, be calm, act like a woman. And I'll be like, act like a woman. Or sometimes my dad will sit with his friends and they'll be having conversations, right? And then I'll go to sit in the conversation because I want to be a part of the conversation.
Of course.
And my mom will call me and I'll go and she's like, stop it. These are older people and they're men. I'm like, but what they're saying does not make sense. Can I ask a question? I was like, no. But she also, because the thing is that in that moment as a child, I used to be like, why did she do that? But then I've come to understand that she can only teach from what she knows.
Yes.
In that sense.
That part.
Exactly. So it's like the culture she came from, the religion she came from, things like that. She can only teach. I've seen her evolve over time. But also it's like, that's the thing that she knew. And so she passed it on to me. But the problem was she raised a different child, because I was just so like inquisitive about things. I always wanted curious. I always wanted to know what was happening in the world, why women couldn't do things, and why I watch American TV and see women doing things. And I'm like, but why are these women doing things? And then I had this whole thing. I was like, I'm going to go to America. I told my mom, I was like, I'm going to go to America. I was so I'm not going to lie. I was like, maybe at 9. At 9, I knew I was going to move to the US. Like, I was so sure about it. Because I was like, I want to be like those women. I want to be able to speak. I want to be able to ask questions. I want to be able to sit with men and have them listen to me and listen to what it is that I have to say, which now has turned into being too independent.
I mean, now that's double-edged sword.
Yes.
But where do you think that came from for you, though?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what the main trigger was, honestly. But I think it was one of those things where my mom would say one thing to me and my dad would tell me that I could conquer the world and I could do anything. And I was just like, this is contradicting, because I've been told that I cannot really do everything. And you're telling me that I can do. My dad would always tell me, he would always say, look, don't listen to anybody. Like literally, I'll give you an example. you know how they tie the wrap in Africa, and you have to tie it to the left all the time. So I always would tie it to the right. Mom was like, that's not how women tie. My dad's like, she's unique. That's how she is. She's just special in her own way. And I was like, oh, don't play. Don't touch me. I'm unique. I'm the one in that sense. And I don't know. I really don't know where all of that came from. But maybe that's what it was. It was just like there was a part of my brain that felt like I could do more. And I could be way better than whatever it is that I was exposed to. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe God just had a plan and just put it in me, and then I could not sleep at night, and then I just became so curious. I don't know, I really don't, because I've never done the actual work to find the main trigger in that sense. So yeah.
I find it so interesting because a lot of my friends are those people in their communities, like the wild woman, or like the unique women in those spaces where they were not surrounded by other women like them. And like my friend and I were talking last week, and we're comparing it to like Dragon Ball Z with the 7 eggs that you have to find or whatever. And we're saying how like we're all spread out across the world, and we're like finding each other, because I was telling her about you, and I'm like, I want you to meet her. And then my other friend has met my other friend from different walks of life, and they're in a group chat, so it's cool that they're all meeting, but it's like collecting the eggs in one place to create something special. But we've all had similar stories where like the status quo where we were was not making sense, and then we chose to opt out of it and like trailblaze, and we're like finding each other, and it's something like magical. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of other women or young women out there who need that, because they haven't found a voice, or they might not be able to come to America. So what do?
Oh my God, like literally you've said it, because for me that's the core of it. Even doing the podcast, all of this is the idea that I want someone to sit down somewhere and hear us speak and be like, I can relate to that. In that sense, I'm not crazy. I'm not, excuse me, I'm not asking for too much. I'm not doing too much in that sense. Because sometimes it feels like you're doing too much.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Or you're just so uncomfortable. You're so out of place. It's like, why am I this way? But like, I can't be the other way. It's just not, it's not me.
Do you think it stops people from being their most authentic self?
100%, yeah. 100%. And then also, it's a disservice to the world at large, honestly, because like, if you're able to just be, for example, the little girl that was you, if you're able to sit in those conversations with those grown men, who knows how it could expand your mind, and who knows who you could become. Like, there's just endless possibilities. But when they limit men here, women here, elders here, young people here, whatever, it's just like, you can limit someone's capacity without knowing. Obviously, I understand culturally, I understand respect and everything else, but I think that like there's so much potential in children that is untapped. Unfortunately for us, we're extroverted generally, but think about worse so the kids who are introverted going through these experiences, and they can't even gather themselves to ask questions. They're just observers, flies on the wall, and they want, like, they're yearning on the inside, but like the world may never even hear their stories. So
it's like truth. Oh yes, you're so right, and you're right. It's like the kids who are just sitting somewhere, just saying to themselves, just forming the questions in their head, never getting the answers to it, and then I think you get tired after a while. Like, you get tired of fighting in some sense, because I remember whenever I go back to Nigeria now to go visit, like, and then I see with some of my friends who I used to be like, oh my God, this person was like a firecracker, like they were just out here doing it, and then they're just like, oh, Julie, please, I've gone past that age of hustling. I've gone past that age of trying to, please. I have kids. I'm not in the mood for all of that, and I understand sometimes it's tiring. It's tiring to fight for the things that you want. At some point, you really truly just conform, because it gets exhausting, and then it even causes more trauma to you as a human being, and just keeps on piling up. And then now you're not just transferring the trauma, you're not just giving trauma to yourself, you're not transferring it to even the kids that you have and teaching them otherwise, as opposed to being better in that sense. Did you find your core trigger for abandonment, or when you started doing the work?
No, I haven't. Like, I don't know if there's a core trigger, or I don't know if it's like a series of things built up over time. I'm still working through it. Actually, my therapy session on Thursday was a huge like breakthrough session on a number of levels. But I think that what I'm realizing
Yeah.
is just so many things that I thought were the norm in how I operate are like coping mechanisms or defense mechanisms. Even like I'd read this article that ultra independence is a trauma response or something like that. But for me, it's been very much so like, I got me. Like, I would never pack a suitcase heavier than I can carry up a broken escalator by myself. Like, I got me so contained.
Yeah.
And so even during the therapy session, like as we're talking about things, I'm thinking like, oh, I can see how this could be like some kind of abandonment, like trauma response.
Yeah.
But I think overall, what I chalk it up to is just having moved around a lot, because I don't generally stay in a place over 2 years.
Wow.
So it's like everything is temporary. So why fully invest and develop anything if you're going to be gone in 2 years, or this person will be gone in 2 years or less. So it's just been, everything has been fleeting. But I think there comes a point in life where you need community. Like you can't exist as an island. So even long distance friendships like that I've been able to maintain. But having had that pattern growing up and even in adult life, I think that like I'm just more accustomed to long distance everything, like long distance friendships and everything is just more of my flow.
Yeah.
So if people are closer distance, it's like, what is this, like WTF? So yeah, I don't know, I'm still like working through it to see with my therapist like where these things come from, and even with myself, like journaling a lot more, thinking about these things and finding better ways to address both like existing relationships and then like the ending of relationships too, like not being afraid of relationships ending, like things run their course, being at peace with that, closure or no closure, like it's life. Yeah.
Does that make, okay, 2 questions. So the first one is, does that make you scared to commit to things, relationships or friendships?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Yeah. I think relationships most definitely, because it's always like, what's the point if I'm going to be gone? So dating has been like serial dating more so than actual relationships.
Yeah.
And then in terms of like friendships, I think are a bit easier because you can maintain that over time. But I've also noticed that friendships, it's different like at a distance versus like when they're in person. So like if you and I are like at a distance, maybe you live in, I don't know, Italy. And
I'm like, Idaho. You're like, Idaho.
Idaho, Italy. Let's say you're in Italy, okay?
Living your best life. Your mindset is you want to go to Italy, so carry on.
Yeah, so you're in Italy living your best life.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're talking maybe once a week on FaceTime, whatever, and everything is great.
Yeah.
But you come to visit me for like a week, it will just be like less exciting. It'd be like, oh, okay, she's here. Like, it's not as exciting. Whereas like when you're in Italy, it's more exciting. So,
thank you very much. I'll stay away from you for like a month. I'll stay away from you for like a month.
In the same
so that
city.
you can be like, woo!
But we already only see each other like once a month. So
I just saw you last weekend.
And before that, when did you see me?
The weekend? Yes.
January 1st.
Yes, that was 2 weeks before.
And then before that, it had been since
before
Thanksgiving.
Christmas. No. Literally, I saw you before your trip on the 24th.
No.
Yes, I saw you before your trip on the 24th.
Anyway, moving right along. Moving right along past the fake news.
Clearly.
Moving past the fake news.
Okay, well, yes.
So yeah, and then it's hard to like maintain the friendships that I have. Like, it's a whole lot of complications. I'm still like figuring it all out. Is the point?
Are you in a place where you think that you can now like commit in a romantic relationship?
I don't even know.
Itself to you? Oh.
I don't even know, because if I'm thinking about like my next moves, I don't know where I'm gonna be in the next 5 years. I don't know how long I'll be there. I don't know. Like my friend was saying that she sees me. This is my friend who's known me like, I don't know, since I was 16, and she was like, I see you with someone who every couple of years you guys are moving or something, like you and the family. I don't know if that's sustainable. I don't know if that will always be me.
Yeah. But do you enjoy moving around?
And I don't know if I'll always continue enjoying it. I love new beginnings. But again, like, I don't know if that's a trauma response. I don't know if I'm always trying to stuff. I love new beginnings. They're exciting.
Yeah.
And then they get old.
Yes.
Then I love another new beginning. So then it's exciting. Then it gets old.
And I'm one of those things. I really do. I love new beginnings. I really do. I love beginnings. I'm like, woohoo, yay,
Exactly.
woohoo, forever.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, I'm like, not forever.
Exactly.
Definitely not forever. I'm not gonna work out. I need to be
Exactly.
This
is just getting on my nerves. Every day, same thing. It's just time to go. All right, pack up. Bye. Yeah.
So for someone who, how do you recognize that you have abandonment issues? Like, how do you recognize it? How do you know it's there? Like, without someone bringing it to your attention?
Yeah, I think a lot of, like, just, you have to do the work. Inner work. Like,
What's inner work?
I think inner work for me has been, as cliche as it sounds, like meditation. Aside from meditation, actually, let me start from the surface. Because when people say meditation, I'm like, what are you meditating about? Like, what? Like, what?
Yeah.
So it starts for me with, like, I was watching a bunch of YouTube videos.
Okay.
And on Reddit, reading all the things on Reddit.
Yeah.
Just questions I might have. So even if it was basic, it was like, always paying in friend group, friend never pays me back. Like, just, that kind of, like, whatever my issue is, or like, I don't know, always the one initiating hangouts, friends never initiate hangouts. So if we're talking about abandonment issues, so it's like, or feeling isolated on Fridays, or whatever the case may be, whatever the issue is, and then seeing what comes up, because I always do research as my first step.
Yeah.
And then seeing what comes up on Reddit and seeing what comes up on YouTube and watching those and reading about those. And then I actually have like a terminology list of like terms that were coming up, like psychological terms, like scientific terms. And then I would save them in my notes so that I can reference them and define them to try and make sense of what I was feeling or experiencing. And then, so then after that, because that's the stuff that my brain can understand. And then spiritually, like when I go into the meditation phase of things, like being at peace with it. But I think, so the research and then also books, like books have been huge, especially The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. After reading that, like that changed my life. I read it like once a year. And I think from there, that's such a good book. Such a good book. And knowing, like, learning from there about, like, just separating ego from self and then trying to understand. Because that also is something, like, my brain could partially understand, because it's, like, some stuff is actual concrete stuff and other stuff is, like, metaphysical, spiritual stuff. But my brain was like, okay, like, we're getting it. And then from there, the step of meditation and spirituality. So it's like a lot of things for the inner work. And then taking it all back into the real world is kind of the phase I'm in now, to see like how much I've learned. I feel like last month was just like secluded inner work, whatever. And then now I'm ready to be outside.
And
in the streets.
See how you perform.
We outside.
But that means being being on lockdown and stuff helped a little bit to force you to stay with yourself. And
oh my god, that was that. I feel like lockdown was the reason for all of this. If not for lockdown, I would not have, because I was always busy. I was at work till I was reading through my journal from 2 years ago, and one of my goals for the year was to leave the office by 7 p.m. That was like my goal, because I was leaving by like 8, 9, 10. So I was always in the office, and then after work I always had an event, a networking event, whatever. In the mornings I was at the gym, weekends I had events, I had things to do. Like, my parents were like, we can never get a hold of you. You have like Obama's schedule, like what? Calling people only when I'm driving. And then when I get to my destination, God bless. Bye. Never FaceTime, never, none of that. So I can't see where I would have done this work. And even going back to the emotional unavailability, I think I could not have seen that at that time. And even going through some messages I had with potential romantic partners at that time, not realizing how unavailable I was then. Because it's just like, I'm busy. What do you mean you want me to text you every day? Like, what's time? Like, I responded once this week. And then them getting in the way, then I'm just like, I was texting you when I was at the water cooler because that's the only break I had today. Like, why are you mad? And not seeing any issue with it. But now, because of the lockdown, it's like, okay, I have way more time. Let me just, like, see how things are. And things are revealing themselves to me. I'm like, dang, I was that busy.
For me, it was like, one, I went through 2 really big breakups, right? It was like a friendship that I had for such a long time. It was like a 10-year friendship. And then it was just like a relationship that I had for another 10 years. It's just, those 2 relationships were so important to me. And they were like my core. Those were my people that I held on to no matter what it was. Like, those were people that I always counted on in terms of having my back and then trying to end that relationship. But for me, I learned very early on that you need to create boundaries with people. And I learned how to create those boundaries with people where I just know what I do not want. And even as difficult as it was for me, I always not know, like, okay, you're gonna go through so much shit. Like, you're gonna feel like you're going to kill yourself. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to be mentally stable to be able to exist in this world. Otherwise, I call it, I know it sounds harsh, but a waste of space. And I don't want to be that person who becomes a waste of space in this world. So just going through that forced me to, like, take some time for myself, like, introspect, see what it is that I did not, like, what I needed to know what it is about the friendship and the relationship that forced whatever was happening at that time. Why do we need to break up? How did our values change? Why did our values change? Did I change? Did I grow? Did I just choose a different path? Am I just being emotional about it? Am I actually looking at facts? Or am I just being like, oh, you know what? You annoyed me and move on like that? Am I just throwing 10 years because my feelings are hurt? Or am I throwing 10 years because my values have changed? And so after I did the work on myself, I realized that my values had changed tremendously. The person that I was in the beginning of my 20s when I first met them, I was just a completely different person at that time, right? And I realized that our values don't match anymore. They don't align. The conversations we have, I understood them and I could empathize with it, but I couldn't be a part of that narrative in that sense. And I knew that it was very important for me to remove myself from those relationships, right? And so I literally sat down, I literally started doing meditation. I took time off. I wasn't working, doing nothing.
Wow.
I started doing some meditation. I started reading books. I was just really just like overdosing myself with knowledge, overdosing myself with like self-care, time alone, and it helped me grow. It helped me grow into I've always been independent, but it forced me to become even more independent. I didn't have, like, right now I know that I will be okay. I don't have to rely on someone for my happiness. My happiness is literally within. Like, I find now I can go on dates by myself. I can go have dinner by myself. I can go to places by myself. While before I'm like, oh, let me call my best friend. Let's
Yeah.
I was always looking for somebody to accompany me to do something, and now it's just like, that's okay. And then also it's shown me that as well, that whatever friendship or relationship it is that I get into, if it's not serving me, it's okay for me to walk away. It's like, it forced me to realize, like, even after 10 years, if you can walk away from something that you've had for 10 years, you can walk away from anything, truly. And if you can heal yourself, you can just be who you need to. But you have to, as a human being, I've come to learn, be your most authentic self. I don't care, trauma or not, whatever it is that you're dealing with, you must always be your most authentic self. Because if you do a disservice to yourself, then you're doing first a disservice to the world, because you are put in this place to shine a light on something, and somebody else is out here trying to dim your light or take it away, and maybe they just do not know that they're doing that, but you don't have to be there to experience it with them. You don't have to be there to go through whatever it is that they're going through. That's their journey. Let them experience it by themselves. Let them go through it. Let them find their healing by themselves. You don't need to, you don't hate them. But it's important for you to remove yourself from the situation. It's important for you to say to yourself, I don't want to do this no more. And so I had to do that work, and then I changed my friend cycle. Like, I changed everybody in my cycle. I changed everything. I just told myself, no relationships for another 3 years. We're not going to do that. So anytime somebody comes to me, oh my God, I'm like, am buying, but also doing that work made me realize that monogamy is not a thing for me. It brought that to light for me. Because I used to be like, oh yeah, I want to be in a relationship. I'm going to get married. But I just realized that that's not for me. I don't know if that's for me. I don't know if that's something that I can sustain. You know what I mean? It's like what we're saying. I love new beginnings. I hate the idea of routine. I hate like that will, if you want to kill me, just make me do the same thing over and over. You take away everything every piece of humanity I have in me, honestly. So, but I've shed some light and spread the butter. All the bread.
One thing I do wonder about though, just generally as people do the work and as you're talking, is like where the line is between being introspective and going inward and doing that work, and then like depression. Like, where do you draw that line? Because sometimes when you go inward, your shadow self is so dark, like it's easy to just go and like just a downward spiral. So how did you balance that during your journey?
I had a friend at that time, my friend Adnet. I had an accountability person. I had someone who needed to hold me accountable in the sense of just doing the work. So every time I'll do the work, and then she'll always call me or she'll sit with me and have conversations, and then she's like, are you okay? I've been not thinking of jumping off this balcony. She's like, because I can't catch you. But she'll make it so light in that sense. Like, because I'm not going to catch you, just so you know. I'm just going to be like, oh my gosh, she was great. She was wonderful. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm not thinking about that. And then she's like, you better not. In that sense. So that helped me. On my journey, that helped me because she made me accountable for the work. Because I said to her, I was like, you know what is the work I'm going to do? She's like, say no more. I'm going to be here to support you. And I was like, you need to remind me every now and then. She said, oh, she's like, this kind of thing that I like. Ooh, control. Yes, I'm taking it. And so that helped me. She held me accountable for the work that I was doing. And then she checked in. She always checked in to make sure that I was okay. And then she reminded me that nothing is that bad at all, and she constantly reminded me. But I had to remind myself that I will get to a place where I will feel like I'm in the darkest of darkest places, right? I'll feel like I'm at the bottom of bottom. So in the moment when I was happy and I wanted to start the work in terms of like, okay, I'm ready to do the work, I had to find someone to tell them, hey, this is the work I'm going to do. I'm going to find out some ugly truths about myself, but I need you to please remind me that it's okay. Everybody has some sort of ugly truth in their lives, or some people are dealing with so much. Because they don't show it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Exactly.
So she checked in on me. She was like, are you okay? Are you good? Is everything okay? You're sure? You know it's okay? Some days she'll be like, oh, get ready, we're going to the beach now. Let's go. And I'm like, I don't want to go to the beach. No, let's go. Literally, when we called Nidia, I'm like, Nidia, we're going to the beach. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Those things helped me. Those things helped me get out of my rut. And then the day, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, it just, one day, I just felt better. Like, one day, I was just okay. Like, I was okay with being alone. And I was so sure, like, so 100% sure that I was gonna live my best, most authentic life moving forward. One day I just knew that this is it. And I also gave myself grace to understand that the days that I miss it, and the days that I miss the mark, I need to give myself grace and say, hey, look, it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect.
Exactly.
You don't have to get it right. Because for me, then my OCD steps in. And OCD tells you, your brain, that perfection exists. So I was not just struggling with the idea of I was struggling with the idea of understanding that perfection does not exist, and my brain and all the little, what are they called? What are they called? Things in your body that gets released. All the hormones in my body are like, I'm like, what's the name? All the hormones in my body are like, you are going to be perfect. And I'm like, perfection doesn't exist according to this book. That's a lie. So I had to unlearn some things as well. So
I think that's such an important point, because even like in the fitness world, just the idea of consistency and people thinking that like perfection has to happen every day, and if you know better, you should do better. Yes, but doing better might not happen every time, and allowing yourself grace so that if you take steps back, it's just like knowing better is knowing that you're capable of jumping back and you'll be all right, as opposed to when you did not know better. When you're down, you're out. But like when you know better, it's like when you're down, you can get back up. And I think a lot of people think like, oh, just because I've done the work and I'm aware that this is my pattern, I'll never do it again. And it's like, it doesn't mean you'll never do it again. It just means that now that you're aware, if you do it again, you'll also be aware that it's happening. You might be aware before, during, or after, or all three. And you'll be better equipped to prevent it next time. And then you keep learning and learning and hopefully growing and growing to the point where like it happens less often and eventually not at all. But it's not that like you'll just come out the gates, oh, I've done the work, I'm a new person, I'm a perfect person, like I'm good now.
But I mean,
this is perfection.
I'm just saying.
Aim for this.
This is what you should aim for.
So like,
there's nothing higher than this. If you cannot get here, you cannot go anywhere.
Sorry to you.
Sorry. Oops. Somebody told you. Oops. Oh my God, Joyce, I could talk to you forever because it's just such, man, this is the reason why I wanted to have you here, because I feel like, for me, I just feel like I can talk, we can have this conversation for like 5 hours and we will still be sitting here.
Going into all kinds of subtopics, side topics. Yeah.
I agree. But I love how vulnerable you're willing to be in terms of like saying like, hey, look, I get it. This is what I've been through, and I'm doing the work, and I go to therapy because therapy is a conversation that people don't usually like to have, honestly, especially Black people, and especially women, because we always want to have it together in that sense. So I appreciate your vulnerability with that. I appreciate you sharing your experience as well, and just speaking on it. And I know for sure I'm gonna have you here again because we have to talk about. There's so many things that I want to talk to you about, and I feel like you have so much insight on, and it would just be amazing to just hear you speak on them, because I've heard you speak on them off camera, so I know it would just be amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
So I'll be moving in next week, so that can be easy access, so you can be recording on the daily. No worries.
No, remember, I'm not going to see you for a month.
Oh, so I'm so sorry.
So you can miss me. You need to miss me.
I need to miss. Distance makes my heart grow fonder.
Lord, I've been praying for this.
Yes.
But thank you so much. I really do love you so much, and I appreciate you being
me
here, honestly. Thank you.
Yay.
Guys, thank you so much. Honestly, I like, write in the comments, let us know, do you think that every human being who walks around on planet Earth is dealing with some type of abandonment issue? Do you think people carry those into their relationships, their marriage, their friendships? You know, let us know in the comment section. What is your experience with it? How have you dealt with it? Are you on the journey of finding yourself? So that other people can learn as well, so that they can learn new tricks, new ways, new mediums, new processes to help them heal whatever that trauma is in their lives. Do not forget to like this video and share it. Share with your friends, your enemies, people you don't talk to, random people on the street, people you do not even know. Share with them. People need to learn, because if you want to make the world a better place, how else can you do it if not by sharing information?
With your enemies.
I love you guys so much. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I am Jubilee Gamaniel, and I cannot wait to see you on the next episode. Mwah!
Bye. Goodbye. God bless. God bless. God bless.
I knew you were going to say that like 5 times.
God bless. God bless.
Oh my God.